Hello and welcome to Tartan Touchdown episodes, show number 8 in our NFL podcast series. Week 1 is almost in the books, and what an opening slate of games we've had. We've had games go to the wire, we've had some outstanding rookie performances, a whole lot of lightning, but some very disappointing performances from a fan of a few certain teams in the league. We made his debut in last week's season kickoff episode, but along for his first look back at the weekend's games in the NFL as a member of Tartan Touchdown, it's Brian. Brian, how are you?
Well, I was absolutely fine right up until 6 p.m. Sunday. I was having a great weekend up until kickoff. No, I am very well, Dan. I'm delighted to be here, delighted to talk ball. And it's great because there was lots of games at the weekend and they didn't all involve Cleveland. So that gives me something nice to talk about for at least most of the show.
Well, what I will say is at least you got to 6 o'clock on Sunday before your season was ruined.
This is true. This is true. I actually got all the excitement of Thursday and Friday night football without, having my entire weekend ruined preemptively.
So for folks that haven't tuned into episodes before, each week we'll take you through the big stories of the weekend and discuss some of the key aspects of the games. And we will be out every Tuesday throughout the NFL season, so make sure you tune in and catch up with what's been going on. So I had my notes all written for tonight, Brian. I'm ready to go last night. I'll do some preemptive, type my notes, and then Sunday night football, ripped them all apart and I had to rewrite my notes again. So we're going to have to start this weekend in reverse order. Sunday night football, all I can say is wow. Before we go to what actually happened at the final of the game, give me your key takeaways from a Ravens point of view in that game.
Right. So, do you know, it's funny because when we were thinking about this beforehand, we were thinking, your last 5 minutes of the game, and we talk about a tale of winning and losing. Henry, unstoppable, incredible yard after yard, incredible fashion, stiff arms, the nature he's running. We are used to King Henry bulldozing through defenders, and he did bulldoze through many a defender. But some of the really, really, his feet were incredible and fantastic, right up until the critical moment. 1st and 10, you are 8 points to the good, and there is 3 minutes 10 left in the clock, and it gets punched out for a fumble. Now, to be fair, it was a very well-worked bit of defence. It's not like some of the fumbles you see where the running backs made an absolute meal of it. Defence did good work there, but still, you go from 8 points up, 3:10 on the clock, 4-play touchdown drive, 3 and out, 9-play, 66-yard field goal drive, and you are done. Although, one of my notes about this game, the Bills missed 3 2-point attempts. See if they just kicked the extra points. We wouldn't have needed that. We wouldn't have needed the drama.
We missed one which would have sent the game to overtime, to be fair, as well. The game is unbelievable, right, from start to finish.
Incredible game.
The Bills won the first quarter, we'll say it was 7-3. That was the first quarter. And then the Ravens steamroller just took over, and they just went crazy for 2 quarters. 17-6 in the second quarter, 14-6 in the third quarter, and suddenly we get to the fourth quarter, and they've got this massive lead. It was crazy. What I liked about the Bills, though, was Bills didn't panic. There was no adjustment it didn't look like there was any adjustment from their game plan. They just stuck with their game plan, and they just kept going. They knew what they had to do. But to be fair, it hadn't been working really for the first 3 quarters of the game, but they stuck with it. And in that fourth quarter, there was some massively key plays. Like the first drive of that fourth quarter, the Bills have got to get back into this. They're 15 points behind. And James Cook goes for 51 yards.
Yeah.
First drive. And that just set the tone for that fourth quarter for the Bills. It was like, okay, we can get through this defense. We can get the yards. And then from there, it just kind of escalated and just went a bit bonkers for the rest of the fourth quarter.
So one of the other things I think in the fourth that you also seen for the Bills, this is easily, we could be looking at this as an AFC Championship preview in week 1, easily. And your big question through 3 quarters was, let's not kid ourselves on. Lamar did some really nice work through there. As much as I love to rag on Lamar as a glorified running back, he did some really good work through there. But it was all through the ground, and the Ravens were absolutely having their way with Buffalo right up until the fourth quarter. And then they started all of a sudden, don't be wrong, Henry still had some great runs in the fourth, but it was much less successful. After the touchdown drive that the Ravens had, we go their second drive, 3 plays, 3-yard run, losing yardage on a run, punt. You've got then the fumble, and you've then got 3 and out, and that starts with a 1-yard run, a 0-yard run. Now, admittedly, the 0-yard run was Zay Flowers. It wasn't Derek Henry. But not the same guy. But it shows you, though, that Buffalo, I don't know if you would say they didn't adjust at all, because they obviously, by the time we get into the fourth quarter, they had accepted what we all know is the truth. You know, the Ravens are going to run the rock straight down your throat if you let them, and they were letting them right up until the fourth quarter. They seemed to get a bit more of a handle on that Ravens run game. And then, the rest is just, well, we watched it. It was an incredible game.
I know. For those that haven't seen it yet, please go on YouTube and just watch the highlights of it. 23 minutes of absolute NFL gold. The highlights, there's not one single bit of those highlights you go, that was all right. Every single highlight and every single play that it shows you is ridiculous. I mean, like I said, there was 3 minutes, 56 seconds left on the clock in this game, and the score is Ravens 40, Bills 25. No universe for that. Even the Bills fans were leaving. Even Josh Allen said that after the game. The Bills fans had left. They were done. The game was over.
They didn't leave as quickly as Lamar did, though. I don't know if you spotted that. Lamar was not cutting about for handshakes at the end of that one. Lamar was straight there. I think he needed the toilet.
There was a bit of luck involved in part of the plays that got them back in, because I'm pretty sure they were fourth down and basically having to get to the end zone, and Josh Allen scrambling about, and he throws a pass which is tipped by, I think it was Kincaid, but a Bills player. It's tipped anyway, and it goes towards the end zone, and of all the players out about it, Keon Coleman, the concentration to catch that ball to get that touchdown was unbelievable. But that ball could have went anywhere. If that ball hits the ground, it's game over at this point. It's absolute game over. There's no way the Bills are coming back in. And then you mentioned the forced fumbles on the next Ravens drive. Ed Oliver, who had a fantastic game for the Bills on defence, he comes up with the forced fumble, and then you're thinking, right, the Bills have got a bit of momentum here. How do they do this? First play, 29 yards, straight to the 1 yard line to the tight end, who's made his first catch of his career. That's what you call confidence in your third string tight end, when you've got the game on the line and you go for him. You've got all your experienced players there, and you go for this third string tight end, and he nails the pass, and it's tackled in the 1 yard line. They do score the touchdown, but as you mentioned, they go for two to try and to get this to tie the game up, and they miss. And you're thinking, right, 1:58 o'clock. Ravens are now going to run it out. I know the Bills have got a couple of timeouts left, but surely now, a couple of first downs on the ground and this game's over. No, it's two.
It should have been over. One of the things with this game that we said this, or I said that a lot about Buffalo last year. It was one of the things I really felt was holding Buffalo back. And are we seeing them finally get the solution to it? Buffalo with a top receiving weapon. Yeah. You know what I mean? We go back to the didn't miss a time when Stephon Diggs was in Buffalo, and they had that, alpha number one receiver, and they've kind of diddled about with different players. And then we see, is this Keon Coleman's breakout? Is Keon Coleman the number one receiver in Buffalo? 112 yards and eight receptions out of 11 targets and a score. Yeah. And what, as you said, what a score.
Oh, yeah.
To have the sheer kind of the awareness, the alertness to not just catch, it's a diving catch.
Yeah.
Not even just a diving catch, a tipped ball diving catch. And don't get me wrong, a lot in this game was made, quite rightly, of D-Hop's incredible one-hander. What a grab, what a touchdown. And it was great. For me, the Coleman one's more impressive, though. Yeah. For me, Coleman's, it was a bigger moment for me. More pressure on him to get it. And it's just, there's so much that he's got no idea. I'm not even sure. He must have started diving before it was tipped, or as it was tipped. So he doesn't know where the trajectory of that ball's going. He just knows, right, committed. Here we go, Superman time. And he comes in with it. It was absolutely wild play.
Yeah. As you mentioned, they're 112 yards off ice, averaging 14 yards a catch, which is but the Bills need someone to do that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
They need someone, to be fair, pretty much all the receivers last night went for at least 10 yards a catch, but they need someone to do that consistently. I think they were expecting a lot of things out of Keon Coleman last year, and didn't really happen as much as they thought. So as you said, if they can get him where they think he can be and have this season that they hope he can have, then he could be an absolute standout for them this year.
He's such a talent. I had a lot of, last year got burned bad in the fantasy world by many, many Keon Coleman shares that never played out. This year, people who took a shot on him and drafted him, they are happy with that investment.
Yeah.
even then, you know what I mean? You still had Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things and spreading the ball about.
Yeah, that's one of the points.
Not to be...
Sorry, you go.
Yeah, not to be too Bills one-sided, the Ravens played a really good game. You know what I mean? Zay Flowers had an absolutely incredible game, 143 yards. 143 yards on seven receptions is insane. And, you know, Derrick Henry doing Derrick Henry things, 169 yards off 18 carries. And that's not even touching on Lamar.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Lamar was wild.
For the year as well, you mentioned it. He didn't go high, he didn't go through it. It was 14 of 19 for 209.
Yeah.
For a running quarterback, that's good numbers.
Well, you say that, Dan, but for another running back called Josh Allen, firing up 33 or 46 for 394 yards. Anything you can do, I can do better.
Lamar was 6 or 70 on the ground. Josh Allen ran about 14 times last night.
Yeah. To be fair, it's the thing that you would say that the Bills couldn't get going. They couldn't get going on the ground. You know what I mean? And you know, it's funny because watching the game, I thought James Cook looked good.
Yes.
He looked like he had some good runs, but it's one of those ones, I suppose, the eye test and then the metric test at the end of the game don't quite marry up. We'll have another one later in the show we're going to talk about where it's exactly the same for me, and I get really, really confused when I looked at the box score for another running back that was in a similar boat. But yeah, you know what I mean? For as much as he might have looked okay on the eye, he just wasn't getting them going, James Cook in this case. So yeah, the Bills, when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen, it does give you, he is a cheat code, and it seems like such a really meh thing to say, but he is. And now that he's got somebody that looks like a real weapon in Keon Coleman, the sky's the limit.
Good to have a Bills fan. And just on the point you made there, the Bills actually ran the ball more than the Ravens last night by only two plays in it, but it still ran it more. But very was not as successful. But what I found with the Bills were when they were running it, they were picking up the yards that they need to pick up to get the first downs. There was no explosive runs. I think you pulled up, was it the commentator said that Derrick Henry was the first time he had 3 30-yard rushes in one game. I mean, so that shows you like Derrick Henry's doing that, and it's great. But when you're needing your running back or your quarterback in Josh Allen just to pick up 2 or 3 yards to keep your momentum going on those first downs, that's much more important than pick up 30 yards. You still only get the first down, but you do that consistently in every play to get those 2 or 3 yards that gets you the first down, which is key. And just to round this game off, we started talking about where the game is at the fourth quarter. We get 1:26 on the clock. The Ravens will get the ball back. We're a minute 58. They've got to run the clock to get the game to get the game out. And that's it. They take 32 seconds off the clock in 4 plays. That's just criminal. But for a team that can, you mentioned, they just seem to forget how to run the ball in the fourth quarter. For a team who have quarterback and a running back who will rip teams apart, to not be able to do that at the end of the game is probably concerning for the coaching staff at the Ravens. And then Josh Allen just goes super aggressive, 32 yards on one play, 25 yards on another play, couple of kneel downs, run the clock down, one game winning field goal with a minute to go. We have a second to go.
It is that game management though that says a lot. You know what I mean? And it's don't get me wrong. I don't know. I suppose, see, the thing for me, you've got the, first and 10 with the Ravens, as you say, you're sat there, you've got 32 seconds in the clock. No, sorry, 158. You're 158 in the clock. Yeah. First and 10, you hand it to Derrick Henry, he gets a yard. Okay. Why are we there? Why are we handing the ball? Why is Zay Flowers getting a shot at this? I'm sorry, you are trying to run clock, and Derrick Henry at this point is sitting on 169 yards on the ground today. Hand him the ball again. Even if you don't get the first down at that point, you are probably going to be third and manageable. You are then sitting with much more time off the clock if you run it up the gut. So, come on, that's, criminal kind of game management for me. And then, masterclass in it for the Bills. Gets the yardage he needs to, and then just brings the clock down. We're going to kick this and we're leaving.
Yeah, so it was crazy. Yeah, as you mentioned, Derrick Henry, okay, you've got Lamar Jackson here as well. That could be option or something. Just get the ball.
Yeah, give him a draw option.
Just do something that's not getting your wide receiver to rush the ball. I know they've probably tried to be too clever. That's probably what they've thought. Well, they know we're going to try and run the ball. They're going to try and stuff Henry. They're going to try and stuff Lamar. We'll try and be clever. And it backfired on them.
Lean on your strengths. Play to your strengths. Don't try and get cute.
I've seen a few comments from Ravens fans on social media today that game is all a coaching issue. I'm basically saying the players done everything they could. But at the end of the day, play calls are coaching. Yeah. Anyway, so It was an unbelievable advert for the first weekend of the season. Because a game
welcome to football. Football is back, baby.
It certainly was. But it wasn't the only great game of the weekend. But unfortunately, we don't have time to go through every single great game of the weekend. So what we're going to do is chat you through some key aspects of other games of week one. So we'll start with Brazil on Friday night. We kind of referenced it earlier on. Chargers over the Chiefs fine. How legit are these Chargers?
Do you know, I think they could be legit. I think the Chargers might actually be legit. But I think my bigger takeaway for this was KC look vulnerable. Like, that was not a confident Kansas City performance. Yeah, the Chargers came out, and if I'm honest, they played pretty much as I expected the Chargers to play. I don't think the Chargers came out and you got like some outrageous masterclass from them. I think they did more or less what they thought they were going to do. There's maybe one exception to that I'll get to in a minute. You know, Justin Herbert came out and he zipped the ball about, aired out. That's just Justin Herbert. We know what he is. We know we're going to get that. But the KC side, Mahomes, okay, yeah, he did hear his lovely kind of diving sidearm pass. It's glorious. It makes a great clip. But it just didn't seem to get going for KC really through the air or on the ground. And it's just, I don't know, it seemed last year, and I think this is kind of one of the big talking points of this game, it seemed like last year KC, they weren't incredible offensively. You know, they were good, but they weren't incredible. But Spags was running elite defense.
Yeah.
You were terrified of going up against Spags in that KC unit. No, not so much. That was not a terrifying unit to watch the Chargers play against. But either that or Herbert is utterly incredible and is slicing and dicing teams at will.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the stats from that defense, one big thing is that Chris Jones got nowhere near Justin Herbert. He's your key rusher, and you get nowhere near him. They got to him 4 times. Drew Tranquil got to him twice. Carl Laftis got to him once. And Charles Rennie got to him once across the whole game. Yeah, I mean, though you mentioned that Chiefs defense, the amount of pressure they got on quarterbacks last season, it made a massive difference. And Spags is a defensive genius. But let's flip over then. Was the Chiefs defense a step behind, or was that Chargers offense a step ahead?
I'm kind of landing on KC being a step back. I enjoyed watching the Chargers. Herbert, he threw it for over 300 yards. He played a clean game. As you say, they didn't get too much. He only lost 14 yards in sacks. But he was able to spread it out amongst these receivers, which is great to see. I don't know, okay, maybe I'm coming round on this myself the more I'm talking. Is this a case where you turn around and say, right, well, at the end of the day, you try and dial in on Lad McConkey, and then they have Keenan Allen, who they've just brought in, and it's difficult to game plan again. Even a vet like Keenan Allen, we know who Keenan Allen is, but he's on a new team. How is he going to cope? And then Quentin Johnson lives. Huge lives. He had an incredible game as well. I don't know. I really, really enjoyed watching the Chargers, but everything that I watched in this game, I really felt like it was KC not doing as well, and the Chargers being able to capitalise on that. And it's not to take away from LA. You know what I mean? They played a great game. I just think that I think we are more likely to see the Chargers struggle against opponents than we are to see KC kind of figure this all out. I think KC could be in for a tough season if we're going off week one.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the KC game plan, a lot of us through there would have been targeted around Xavier Worthy. That would have been their key game plan.
The corpse of Xavier Worthy.
And then Kelsey just decides on the first drive that I'm just going to shoulder barge him like a WWE move.
I'm the hero of this team.
That's it. I heard you were in.
I got engaged. Bash. It was a great hit, to be fair.
Oh, it was. I mean, a linebacker would have been proud of it. Yeah,
incredible.
That just took him out of the game very early, where suddenly you've got, and no disrespect to him, KC's top receiver on the night was Hollywood Brown. 10 receptions for 99 yards, and he's not your WR1.
Now, to be fair, that is actually like, if we removed the name Hollywood Brown and you said one of your receivers went 99 yards on 10 receptions, you would actually be reasonably pleased with that. If you said 9.9 yards a reception, I'll have that. Then you realise it's Hollywood Brown. Followed up by Juju Smith-Schuster. How dare you forget him?
Yeah, so as you mentioned there, so basically the Chiefs, Mahomes relied on 2 wide receivers, Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster. He obviously has a couple here and there, everybody else. But if you flip it over to the Chargers, Quentin Johnson, 5 receptions, Lad McConkey, 6, Keenan Allen, 7. You suddenly then you're spreading that load across, and the yards are picking up as well. 79, 74, 68. Conklin get 50 yards on 2 receptions. Herbert had more options of where he was going to put that ball, whereas Mahomes is restricted in terms of where the ball was going through the air for them, but they couldn't do it before, but less.
I totally agree with that. I think the bigger thing actually that might come into that as well, and I suppose this will make the KC fans out there feel a wee bit better when you look at it. You look at the calibre of the receivers that Justin Herbert is thrown to as opposed to Pat Mahomes. You know what I mean? You know, there is no sane fan out there. Let's even take Quentin Johnson out of it because, yeah, it was a great breakout game. Hopefully a breakout game for him, but we'll see. You are not telling me that there is any universe that anybody would prefer to have Hollywood Brown and Juju compared to Ladd McConkey and Keenan Allen. Even Keenan Allen at the age that he is, they are worlds apart. Yeah. From what Mahomes is working with, which, okay, I need to give Casey that, I suppose. I can't take that away from them.
So here's a question. This is something that I've been saying for a few years, but you've heard me saying it on this podcast, on our podcast, that the Chiefs have been getting by with an elite quarterback, and I always say this, like Tom Brady did, with probably average wide receivers, and it's worked because they've had. Is this now catching up with them?
Yes. And I don't think they've got, well, see, I'll come back in it very, very slightly. So they've had average wide receivers, but up until last year, they've had elite tight end play. You know, last year, we have witnessed the slowing down. Age is finally catching up to Travis Kelce. And you look at last night, okay, right, yeah, it's very, very, it's not last night, Friday night. It's very easy to take a mickey with a shoulder check, with the body check on Worthy. It was objectively quite funny. But even put all that aside, he is not the Travis Kelce of 2-3 years ago. He is not the same threat. Yeah, you look at his stat line, you know what I mean? He's a lovely stat line. 47 yards on 2 receptions and a score. It's great. He only got targeted 4 times. That's the takeaway for me. You know what I mean? It'd be one thing if you could turn around and say the Chargers took Kelce away from him. They didn't. They were not passing to Kelce. So they don't have, not even an elite option. They don't really have a lead option other than Hollywood Brown. And you're not trying to tell me that everybody in Kansas City is pinning what, if you believe the preseason hype, or straight back in the Super Bowl hunt, or going for Lombardis. Not with Hollywood Brown as your lead receiver. You're not. Sorry, it's not happening.
But just on Xavier Worthy, I know there was chat that he's going to have to get surgery for his shoulder injury. I read today he's going for a second opinion to see whether that's going to be a case, but shoulder surgery is not a quick recovery period, especially for a wide receiver either, so he might be struggling without him for a wee while. So let's flip over.
No, he's officially day by day. Day by day is the official line out here with his dislocated shoulder. That's come out an hour ago as we're recording this. So yeah, that is I ain't reading a quick recovery for him.
One other player I want to talk about this game, and it was a player that I was very big on coming out of college, Amari Hampton. So he went for 15 carries for 48 yards. No touchdowns for him, but long of 11 yards. What's your thoughts on him? Is Najee Harris a thing of the past for the Chargers?
I think that actually might. Well, I think either Najee is a thing of the past or Najee was more injured than we were led to believe. Najee only got 1 carry. 1 carry for 5, which, yeah, okay. This is what I was referring to in the previous bit, actually, when we were talking about previous game and stat lines that the eye test and the stat line don't marry up. I thought Hampton had a brilliant game. I watched that, and my takeaway was, yeah, Hampton looks like, I sent it to you in our chat. Yeah. I was like, Hampton's just played Najee into irrelevance, and he was 15 for 48. That is not incredible. That's not even average. It's actually, pretty poor. So I'm kind of, is he really that amazing? Or are we just seeing something that did Spags' game plan against him effectively? And then Herbert just diced him through the air. Although it does need to be said, when he managed to get outside, he did significantly better than when he was trying to run it up the gut. He did do better when he managed to get him on the outside.
Yeah. I mean, that Chiefs defensive line is going to stop any running back. I mean, they have got the talent.
Yeah, it's an elite line.
So it's going to be interesting to see how he plays, but let's see whether it was an injury to Harris, more of an injury to Harris than we're led to believe, or whether Harbaugh's decided that Hampton's RB1. We'll kind of tell over the next few weeks, but I think he's got a great future, and I think he's a great fit for the Chargers. Right, question for you. What was the bigger performance of the weekend? Chargers beating the Chiefs, or the Bills beating the Ravens last night?
Bills. It's not even close. Statement game. statement game for the Bills. I think the Chargers, as I say, for me, that game was more about KC underperforming. I think the Chargers just performed. I think that's what the level the Chargers should expect to play. Whereas I think the Bills, they went up against, for me, the best the AFC has to offer, and they came out on top, and they came out on top at the crunch. They didn't horse it. That was as tough a game as you're going to get. So yeah, for me, it was much bigger performance.
One last point on this game then, looking forward. Chiefs are good Eagles this weekend. Doesn't get any easier. What do they need to address ahead of this game to stop them going 0-2 at the start of the season?
Well, the first they need to figure out whether Jalen Hurts has remembered who AJ Brown is. But do you know, actually, I'm being daft, but that I suppose is really it. Because at the end of the day, the Chiefs did well defending the run. What are the Eagles building their entire team identity on? The run. Now, yes, okay. Amarian Hampton's a hot prospect out of college and all the rest of it, and we all hope he'll have a brilliant career. He ain't no Saquon.
Yes.
And the Chargers line ain't the Eagles line, so they are not the same thing. But they did stop the run effectively. So can they continue to do that? Then, yeah, they put themselves in as good a position as anybody's gonna against the Eagles. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping for every fantasy manager out there that spent a pick on AJ Brown, that the Eagles decide next week that KC will stop the run, so they need to pass the ball slightly, and we'll maybe get a good game of football like that.
Let's just rewind back 24 hours before that game, and you obviously mentioned the Eagles there. So we're 6 seconds into the NFL season. 6 seconds. The kickoff's happened. Cowboys are lining up in the huddle. Jalen Carter gets himself ejected. So, what I'm going to say first before we get into the aspect of it, spitting, I think, is one of the worst things that can happen. Generally, but especially on a football field. It's not even disrespectful. It's just absolutely disgusting. So, before we get into the ins and outs of it, so, I've seen comments online and people, and we've probably all seen the video by now. Dak Prescott spat at him first. No, he didn't. It's just the massive reach. Dak Prescott spat through his huddle and avoided hitting every player in his huddle. He spat in his direction. Yes, he did. So, was Jalen Carter provoked, or did he fall for Dak's gamesmanship?
So, Dan, just so I'm clear, you're trying to tell me that the exceptionally experienced NFL veteran quarterback of many, many seasons didn't potentially think there is a star lineman opposite me who might be known to have a bit of a temper and might have some very serious attitude concerns, and I might be able to very gently nudge him towards doing something wrong. It was absolute gamesmanship. It was beautifully executed gamesmanship, I need to add. At 100% knew what he was doing. That's just an experienced head. He knows that if I do this and I actually spit on you, I'm getting chucked out. Whereas Jalen Carter, he's no the brightest. And just didn't quite think it through. For me, I think that Dak thought he's going to spit back at me and I'll get... No, I don't think that's the case. Do I think Dak was trying to get in a player who, as I say, had concerns coming out of college about his temperament, his attitude, all the rest of it? Yes, 100% Dak was getting in his head, and he was just ridiculously successful. There's no, like Dak was, imagine how confused Dak was after that happened. He was like, damn, this worked really, really well.
Yeah, because I mean, if you've not seen the video, go watch it, because you watch it, and Dak, like, they're in the huddle, and Dak spits. And I think it's still as in the huddle, but in Jalen Carter's direction. But it's the look in Dak's face as he looked at Jalen Carter after he did it, and it's just the big, giant smile as he looked, and Carter just reacts. What Dak did say was that Jalen Carter was trying to get at, I've completely forgotten the rookie's name, one of the rookie lines, but he was trying to get at him, and Dak's like, no, and that's when he done the spitting thing, but then he stepped through the huddle to go to Carter, and that's what he said, I stepped for it because he was going at the rookie. So he was defending his rookie, and then Carter lost and spat on him.
It's a mess. But it's one of those things, I suppose. It's one of the things we love about the NFL. You know what I mean? It's like violence in motion. So you need to be, is it particularly on a line, you are primed and ready to be brutally aggressive and violent. And you need to have a temperament. You need to have that ability to do it at the controlled moment you need it for execution, not by firing a big greenie at Dak Prescott.
You just know when Dak got back to the sideline after that drive that the other coaching staff would have been pats on the back. You've got to assume that there was got to be a chat within the coaching staff. Like, we can get at him. Yeah. We can get in his head. And even though you can never imagine if they've been as successful as it was.
Every professional sport does this. In soccer ball, football, it's infamous for, off the ball, standing somebody's toes. What they used to call the dark arts. It's exactly the same in any professional sport. You've got a player that you can get under their skin, you can make them do something silly that's going to get them a pick. Absolutely, you're doing it.
Yeah.
Any advantage you can get.
Yeah. What I will say is Jalen Carter's probably very lucky that the Cowboys' offensive line didn't see it, because I don't think he would have walked off the field if they had seen it.
No. But to be fair, we're saying all this, you did still lose, Dan, to be fair. So at the end of the day, he who wins tends to laugh last. Yeah. So Jalen Carter will be crying into his victory medal.
He won't be. But what I will say, and we're not going to dive into this game, is that I did think we did look quite good, especially on offence. I was quite happy with. I mean, there's no spectacular numbers if you look at the box score, but we seem to have a good game plan. Javonte Williams, 2 touchdowns on 54 yards, like that.
Dak looked like Dak was the bigger takeaway for me.
So that was fine. So it was only 188 yards, which isn't traditional Dak, but that's where the game plan was mixed up a bit. But the passes we were making, that was, you said, it was Dak Prescott. We all know, and I love, you might not love, but that we all know, that I love, he looked back to his best. If only...
And for the Eagles side, the Eagles look like the Eagles. That's exactly. No one is shocked by what the Eagles are at this juncture. You know what I mean? The Eagles are, like we were talking about with the Ravens, they are going to run the ball down your throat if you let them. And they did. You know what I mean? The running game was absolutely on point. Yeah. Not quite as outrageously efficient as the Ravens, but then again, they didn't need to be as efficient as the Ravens were.
Yeah, because we didn't tackle anybody that was running with a ball. For some reason, we maybe forgot to do tackle drills in the off-season. And that was a problem we had last year, was we had a lot of missed tackles last year. But it's week one, you can't really do a lot of tackle drills in the off-season. So let's see how it goes. CD Lamb could do some catching practice. That would help as well, to be fair. Anyway,
Butterfingers.
So, from the highs of that Bills comeback to the promising Chargers team that we've had, we go to the complete opposite end of the scale here, Brian. The Miami Dolphins, right? Absolutely destroyed by a Colts team, which is bad enough. Absolutely destroyed by a Colts team led by Daniel Jones. What is going on in South Florida?
Marine mammals for Manning. Marine mammals for Manning. Oh, well, are they going to be the worst team in the league this year? I was already out on the Dolphins before this year started. I've been saying it for months. I think Tyreek Hill's done. I think he is gone. Achan looked good. He did look good. That's about it. And even then, a lot of his yardage came a wee bit later on in the game when this was done and it was put to bed. We are watching, well, your call for all through the off-season. Are we looking at the hottest seat in football? It doesn't even look quickly when the Dolphins' bye is, but does McDaniels make the bye with a performance like that? If he has more than one of them, God, no. You know, it's one thing. See if you get hosed off the Bills or the Ravens or, you know what I mean, the Eagles, etc. Yeah, okay, fine. These are Super Bowl contenders. The Daniel Dimes-led Indianapolis Colts are not a juggernaut. They should not be hanging you out to dry ever. Let them posting a big score on you. That can happen. You should stay in the game alongside them. They are, it was an embarrassing one. I feel bad for everybody in Florida.
The Dolphins bye
more than usual.
Dolphins bye week 12.
All right. So, do you know what? Right, I'll put it out there right now. Mike McDaniels does not survive to the Dolphins bye.
I'll tell you, he will not survive if they lose in week 5. They have the Patriots next week.
Yeah.
Patriots should win. Dolphins should win. Sorry, Patriots should win that. Bills will win that. Who will come to should beat the Dolphins. And then they've got the Panthers. If they go to week 5 or 0-4 and lose to the Panthers, he's done.
Out.
I shouldn't even wait that long. I mean, if they go to New England, at home, if they play New England at home and they have a performance like the last night, then the Leafs will be out even more.
We're not going to dwell too long in this game, but this, I suppose, is my last takeaway from it. It's not the loss. It's not even a big loss. It's the nature of the loss. They could do nothing on any aspect of the game. Special teams, rotten. Defense, rotten. Defense, rotten. Everything was bad. Oh, yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, but don't get me wrong. The Dolphins wouldn't expect to be, okay, yeah, fans. Yeah, we win every game. The sane observer wouldn't expect them to beat the Bills. Going into this season, they would have seen games against the Patriots. They would have seen games against the Colts, against the Jets. They are all wins in your pocketbook. If they don't, they've already lost one of them. If they lose the others, yeah, good night, Mick McDaniels.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you say, it's not even the losing to the Colts, right? It's the nature of the loss. And it was an embarrassing performance. If you're a Dolphins fan, you must be looking at it thinking, yeah, the result itself was bad enough, but the nature of the performance, they just didn't look interested at all. Just
who are we? The Browns?
But we'll pull this Colts stat by both me and you have been loving it. We've been
love it.
The Colts scored in every possession last night. So 7 possessions, 7 scores. In the history of the records that the NFL Network seem to have anyway, it's not been done since 1991, which is when their record started. That's a crazy stat. Think of all the teams and all the quarterbacks that have played since 1991, and nobody's ever went 7 of 7 for scores.
Just imagine, on the notion of that, imagine you are a Giants fan watching Daniel Jones look like an absolute hero while you watch Dangerous Wilson look like Dangerous Wilson.
Yes.
It's just wild.
I mean, to be fair, I did give it to the Colts tight in our preview show last week, and I said none of the quarterbacks are a good option. Don't think last night has changed it because the Dolphins were that bad, but if Daniel Jones can be serviceable for the Colts, and they can keep these kind of I'm going in, they could be okay because they are playing in the South, which we have said is very winnable for the teams in there. Yeah. Right, let's move on a wee bit and talk about some other teams that we were both impressed by. Let's start with the Jets. Nobody kind of knew what we were going to get with the Jets this season, but ultimately they ended up losing to the Steelers, but I went to the end of the game and a very interesting game to watch. What did you make of the Jets?
I actually really enjoyed the Jets Steelers. Grudgingly, thought both teams looked really good. Big bits for me. Breece Hall.
Yes.
Breece Hall, much maligned. I'm not going to go fantasy bananas and stuff, but everybody, Braylon Allen has been a bit of a fantasy darling all off-season because he's coming for Breece Hall's dinner. He's going to be the lead back. He'll be taking that job, not with performances like that he won't.
Yes.
Breece Lightning was back. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Then the receiving game again, Garrett Wilson looking absolutely fantastic. A couple of really brilliant grabs. He had a really, really nice toe tap in the sideline, but it was just wasn't even that hard a catch, to be very honest. I don't really think he needed to do the toe tap the way he did, but it was gloriously deliberate. Like, you got to watch it in the fantastic slow-mo. And on the Steelers side, the Aaron Rodgers, is he not done?
I know.
Is he actually maybe not totally done?
Yeah.
He looks good.
He was up against a very good Jets defense as well. So it wasn't as if he was up against a defense that could pick him up. That Jets defense is good. And he went 22 from 30 for 244 yards and 4 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns.
I mean, in those 4 touchdowns, he went to 4 different players as well. One to Calvin Ross, one to Skoranek. Jalen Warren got 1 and Jonnu Smith, our favourite tight end from Miami.
Right, I want to know what Jonnu Smith has on Arthur Smith. I want to know. He's got to have something. Like, it doesn't make, like, the love affair is real. Everywhere these two pair up, Jonnu gets work. He did. He looked good. And then lots has made, the field goals and all the rest of the tail end of this game. For me, and I really, really grudge saying this massively, the tackle to end not to end the game, but the big tackle at the end was an absolute peach.
Yes.
It was Jalen Ramsey just absolutely that was something you felt. You watched that live, and you held your ribs. You're like, that was so he leveled him. That was
he did another great tackle, another pass breakup just before that as well. I think he did a couple of plays in quick succession where he only had basically 3 tackles the whole game. I mean, 3 tackles and 2 pass breakups. That hit at the end was like, game over. Not just that's game over.
Down.
It is game over. It's like
down you go.
DK Metcalf. Let's talk about DK Metcalf for a second.
4
receptions for 83 yards, 31 yards longest reception. Did we see the DK Metcalf that we thought we were getting when he came out of college?
In terms of what he produced, I would have said yes. The thing that surprised me was I expected him to be targeted more aggressively. And what we've seen through Rodgers' career is that he gets that one receiver that he hyper targets. We didn't see that. You know what I mean? We had, even if we just look at targets, DK had 7, Austin had 6. Then, yeah, you take a step down and you're looking at kind of 3 for Fryermouth, 1 for Skoranek and so on. But 6 for Jonah. Yeah. Again, something on Arthur. I expected maybe targeted more aggressively, but he looked good when he was getting the ball. We didn't see, that I can think of, many of the kind of big penalties that have plagued DK's career. Yes. I think that's, the Steelers potentially have a pretty good unit here. This was a good game to watch.
Yep. Just flip on the other side, the ball, it is game 1 of the season, right? We're not going to make any wild predictions here, but has Justin Fields found his home?
Maybe. I'm a firm believer that I was about to say every, and then I thought of like 15 examples. Most quarterbacks have a team out there that suits them. Could Justin Fields have found home? We know that the Jets wanted Fields. He didn't land there by accident. They weren't scraping the barrel. They went out and got him. So, yeah, maybe they've got a plan for Fields and they're going to execute it.
Yeah. He was 16 of 22, 218 yards, 1 touchdown through the air to Garrett Wilson, but then he ran for 2 himself. Jets, obviously, they've not really had that type of quarterback. Like, I can't even think if they've ever had that type of quarterback in the time that I've watched the Jets. So it's a complete mindset flip for them in terms of the game plan for the offensive side of the game for the Jets from what they're used to. So maybe that's what's going to work for them. Maybe, let's get a quarterback that can run the ball as well as throw the ball. I thought it was a really good game to watch. The Steelers won it with the walk-off field goal at the end. But yeah, really good game. And I'll be interested to see how those two teams do going forward. One last game that we'll be talking in any sort of detail before we break it down into actual performance of players. It is Packers over the Lions. Right, were the Packers good or were the Lions poor or a mix of both?
I would say the Packers were good. I called this one. For everybody following on Insta, at time of recording, I am 5 for 5 in predictions of the week, including the Packers. I seen this coming with the Packers. Jordan Love looked efficient. He wasn't out there slinging the ball left and right and doing all crazy things. He didn't need to. He was efficient. They've had Josh Jacobs, who again ran well. It's not an incredible 19 carries for 66 yards and he got scored. It's not wild running. But everything they did was efficient and it was effective. They were very good on defense. They really kept the Lions quiet. I think what we're really seeing here, though, for me, is the impact of coaching departures for the Lions and the damage that they're to their O-line. You know what I mean? We're seeing, I'm now desperately trying to remember the name of the Lions centre that's not playing. We're seeing that for me. You look at the Lions' running efficiency, and it was woeful. It really, really was poor. Yeah, Green Bay get to take a lot of credit for that, but I think I called the Lions to take a step back this year. I didn't necessarily think it would be this big a step back, but yeah, if I'm a Detroit fan, am I ringing the panic bell? No, it's week 1. Am I a bit worried? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the Lions look like they're missing Ben Johnson. They look like they're missing that creativity and that bit of influence, what you say, especially on the ground, averaging over 22 carries, average 2.1 yards a carry. That's not the Lions we all know. Jared Goff through there was 31 and 39 for 225 yards. Yeah, I mean, Packers look good. We joke about the Packers having that massive wide receiver room, and he did spread that about.
It worked.
3 to Reed, 2 to Wicks, 2 to Golden, and then 1 to a selection of other players. Jordan Love did spread that about last night to these different wide receivers, and that's potentially a blessing because
how do you defend that?
How do you know what I mean? You've got 6 wide receivers that can all catch the ball.
And this is the thing. It's like, yeah, every team has lots of receiving options. Yes, we know, but not every team has lots of. I'm not going to say all of the Packers wide receivers are elite. I actually don't think any of them are individually elite, but they're all good to great. So they are all top options. So you can't just turn around and say, right, okay, I'm taking Amon-Ra. I'm just going to do it like the old Bill Belichick stuff that he used to say to opposing OCs. I'm just taking him off you today. you don't have that player because I'm removing him. Can't do that to Green Bay.
Green Bay literally
do it to 5 guys.
We have 5 WR1s. That's the thing. It's not like within that roster, you can't really turn around and go, right, you're number 1, you're number 2. You're literally all, because when we come on the field, you're not going to, like, who do we put the best cornerback up against? Because it doesn't matter, because they're all good to get. I think they're all on an equal level as well. It's not like one of them that you're going to target as a defensive more than any other, and that's a good thing for the fact of
it's the only team in football that they've got a wide receiver 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E. It is so difficult to game plan against.
Yeah. Right, that's as far as the actual games, but let's talk about the players that we're impressed by. But obviously, we've spoken about a lot of players as we went through this, which probably wasn't part of our plan, but we've done it anyway, and I've been fine with it. One other player who I want to highlight, who I think was very good this weekend, was Michael Penix for the Falcons. I thought he looked like the quarterback that I've seen him at Washington. Obviously, a few games at the end of the season last year for the Falcons. Now QB1, and he looks like he could be the quarterback that the Falcons will be looking for a wee while.
He looked good. He did look good. And it is the rushing. Don't get me wrong. He looked efficient. He looked solid throughout the game. But the rushing touchdown at the end, it showed you that willingness and that desire to really step up for his team. He has been kind of much maligned, and it was all, is he a bit of a bust? Was it just a really bad draft pick and you move on? But it actually showed you that, no, this could be your guy. He was he was relatively efficient. He passed the ball fairly well. Any quarterback that has to throw it 42 times is unlikely to be being mega efficient. But he still came out just shy of 300 yards. So yeah, he had a really good outing for me. If I'm an Atlanta fan, if I'm a Falcons fan, I'm looking at that and thinking, okay, we might have a thing here. This could be a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think he looked like he was up against again another good defense. Bucks a bit of good defense. I mean, and some good secondary there as well. So he done that as well. He said they ran the ball 28 times. Well, he ran it 16, so we'll just say take him out of it. They ran it 22 times without him, and they split it even between Tyler Algier and Bijan. Bijan was the top receiver with 6 catches for 100 yards, though. So Kyle Pitts started catching the ball as well. Kyle Pitts still there.
He has risen. Kyle Pitts isn't dead.
But the thing is, he spread the ball out. So Robinson gets 6, Pitts gets 7, Drake London get 8 receptions. So he isn't focusing on one receiver either. So I was impressed by him. I think the Falcons could do well this year again. And that South again on the other side, but the South is open for all teams in the AFC and the NFC. So I think it's a good start for him as QB1 and basically as the leader of that team. Right, so let's move on to rookies who we were impressed by. So I'm going to throw a couple of names at you, Brian. So let's start with Harold Fanning. Tell me about him.
Respectable outing. I'm not going to talk much about the Browns game because it makes me sad. Yes, he was responsible for one of Flacco's 2 interceptions. He's also a rookie, so he does get a bit of a gimme. But yeah, 7 receptions, 63 yards, and the bigger bit with me, he was actually the target leader in the day. Sitting with 9 targets, he was Flacco's top option, and he didn't look out of place as a top receiving option. He's a big lump of human. Yeah, I'm quietly hopeful. It gives us 2 absolutely top tier tight end options between him and the Chief. So yeah, for me, he's not quite my rookie of the week. We're going to get on to my rookie of the week in a minute, but he was my honourable mention of top rookie performances. Yeah,
we were both watching Mesmo last night, and every time he caught the ball, you're like, Fanning. Another one who I really like for the Commanders is Corey Cross-Kate Merritt. Obviously, the Commanders obviously have Austin Eckler there, who everybody expected to be RB1. Probably started last night as RB1, but
he did.
Cross-Kate took 10 carries last night for 82 yards. Eckler was 6 for 26. I think he's going to be a very special way running back for the Commanders. I think he's got it all in his locker. We've also got Daniels there as well, who likes to run the ball as well, but for a first outing in an NFL game, I was very impressed with him. What was your thoughts on him?
Bill Krosky. Oh, I do love Bill. Not just for the memes. No, again, as you say, very respectable performance. He's coming in at 8.2 yards a carry. You know what I mean? You can't sniff at that. That's just an incredible outing. I think what we will probably find is that the Commanders might balance the workload out a little bit as we go throughout the season. And, Bill had 10 carries, Austin Eckler had 6. I think we are going to see a wee bit of that kind of two-headed monster side to it. Austin Eckler obviously sees more work in the passing game, but that's not really the thing at the minute. And then you can't ignore Debo in that room. He did only have one carry. It was a 19-yard carry for the touchdown. So I agree with you that I do think Bill is a very, very promising prospect. I think we're going to see a lot of really good stuff coming out of him. I would be a bit more cautious on anointing him the all things running back chosen one, as I think that the Commanders' running room will remain fairly murky.
Yeah, for now, I believe. For
now.
Okay, we also have to talk about, we can't just talk about all of the good things that the offensive rookies has done, so only fill in one defensive rookie. Xavier Watts for the Falcons. We spoke about the Falcons a minute ago up against the Bucks. Xavier Watts, every time I was watching Red Zone and Falcons defense were on the field, his name was getting mentioned constantly. He had 6 solo tackles, he had 2 pass diversions. One of the solo tackles was on a screen that was going to the end zone, and it was like a shoelace tackle when he stopped that. And the other one had a pass diversion, which was almost an interception, which kept him in the game at that point as well. So I was very impressed by him. So they've also got Jesse Bates there as well. So he's got someone very good to learn from. Probably one of the best to learn from as a DB, to learn from Jesse Bates. So Xavier Watts, I think, deserves an honourable mention for our Rookie of the Week. But there can only be one person.
There can be only one.
And I'll give you this, Brian. You have raved about this guy all off-season, and he came up big last night. Who is your Rookie of the Week for week 1?
There is only one Egg Booker. What a absolute hello, NFL. I am here. Now, don't get me wrong. He is in a blessed situation. We know Chris Godwin's is injured. The Bucs refused to put him on IR, but he is injured and he's going to be out for weeks. But you've got Igbukah, 6 targets, not quite the target leader. That was Mike Evans with 8, but he's coming in 6 targets, 4 receptions, 67 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the nature of those touchdowns, you're just watching him get open in the end zone, go up and bring it in. He is exactly as advertised. We have been hearing about this guy all off season. There was the interview Baker did, I think it was in New Heights, where he was just talking about how this guy just does everything. He just does everything that you would want your NFL wide receiver to do, and he's just in the league. I have high hopes for Emeka Igbukah. Easy for me to say. I think he's going to be an elite option. I think it's a really good draft pick by the Bucs. Not just because he's a great player, but I think this is how you keep this wide receiver room going when you start to see Mike Evans is getting older. I've came out and said that I think this is going to be the year we don't see Mike Evans get 1,000 yards. Finally, I think it will happen. And I think then when you move, you'll have Igbukah and you'll have Godwin, and that's your wide receiver replacement. So yeah, for me, absolute stick-on Rookie of the Week. Incredible performance, clutch catches when you had to make them. Absolutely fantastic player.
Yeah, I mean, that second reception pass from Baker Mayfield for that second touchdown was just ridiculous, but you've still got to make the catch. Baker Mayfield made that so easy for him, but you've still got to get in position, get behind the DB,
get up and get it,
make the catch. But yeah, it was one of those touchdowns you just watch it. It wasn't spectacular, but it was just beautiful. Just that perfect pass, perfect catch. It just was one of those touchdowns you go, yeah, that was lovely to watch.
That worked well.
So I think that's something we'll carry on going forward. Maybe look at Rookie of the Week, because there's also that many rookies in the league. We can maybe look at who's performing, who's progressing going forward. Right, before we wrap up, a quick look at week 2, Brian. Not a great depth. One of the games I'm really looking forward to this week, following the performances this week. Commanders weren't tested. They are going up against the Packers this week, which I think will be a very interesting game to see who comes out on top there. Another one which we don't know what we're going to get from one of these teams yet because they haven't played yet. Falcons against the Vikings, I think, could be good. Be really interesting. If the Vikings put a performance tonight, I think that'd be a really interesting one to watch. Give me 2 games that you're thinking about for next week.
Big ones for me, Tampa Bay Texans. We have seen, as much as Tampa Bay walked away with the win last night, they didn't look like the Tampa Bay from last year. Tampa Bay last year was such an incredible, free-flowing offensive unit. You had Baker just chucking the ball to anybody with legs, and they just looked fantastic. Houston have struggled. That was not a vintage week one performance we've seen out of them. Unfortunately, Texans fans out there, I think that might well continue. This is the one where I think that we might see Tampa really step up and step forward and actually say, right, we are still the team that you've seen last year. We've got aspirations for this division because it's our division. It's been locked up for years, but we want to take it a step further. We want to actually make a playoff run, and this is our statement of intent game. And then the other big one for me, Denver, Indy. Indy played really, really well against terrible opposition. So can they do it against a stronger unit? Everybody has heard how high I am on Denver this year. I really think that they're going to be a great team. They didn't really show us that on Sunday. It was a little bit, dare I say it, of a damp squib game. It was just a bit, either that or the Titans are actually going to be maybe passable this year. Oh. But yeah, for me, this is the one again where we see are Denver going to be the team that they want? So for me, this is a big one. This is a statement game. You've got the Colts need to try and say, no, we are actually here to play this year. We are not here to make up the numbers. We are not here for a top 5, a top 10 draft pick. And Denver, they were hotly talked about in the preseason. Are they actually going to deliver? This is when we're going to find out.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. With that look ahead, it brings us to the end of the show for week one and this episode of episodes. We hope you enjoy listening to and watching our run back through week one. Episodes will be here every Tuesday to walk you back through the weekend's action. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and all your major podcast platforms to make sure you don't miss out on a minute of the season ahead. Thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, see you soon.